Hey everyone, this is my solo fingerstyle acoustic guitar arrangement of the Traveling Wilburys song End of the Line. The first thing to point out about this arrangement is that I'm playing it in the original key of D major, but with a capo on the 2nd fret. So the shapes are these, which we know as C major, this one, which would be G major, and here, which would be F major, but the actual chords are D major, A major, G major, just to point that out at the top to avoid confusion. I'll probably refer to them throughout this instructional video as the shapes, so we know this is C major, so I'll refer to this as C major, but just bear that in mind. We'll kick off with the intro then. I'll play that up to tempo. One thing to point out straight away in this arrangement is that the chords are fairly simple, so it largely revolves around the 1-5-4 D major diatonic chord progression, so that's D major, A major, G major. The complexity comes from the right hand in this arrangement because there's a lot of Chet Atkins style standard finger picking mixed in with more rhythmic and percussive techniques. So we'll go through them as we approach them throughout the song, but that's something to keep in mind. It's a really good song to learn and play to develop right hand technique. For the intro, it was about working out what to play now that the capo's on the 2nd fret, because I can't play it as it's traditionally taught. If you look online, there's lots of good instructional videos about how to play the intro to this song, but because I've got a capo on the 2nd fret, can't play it like that now. So I came up with this, which is the C major chord shape played on the 10th fret. So if you know your caged chord system, it's helpful. So we'll play C major like that, but the top 3 strings need to be barred on the 7th fret there. So we've got this. And then it starts with the bass note, played with the thumb like this. When I'm playing fingerstyle and not using a plectrum, I usually strum using the 1st finger, brushing it up and down on the strings like this. Sometimes I'll do the classical technique, which is good to know as well. The 2nd chord is a normal C major, but played with the little finger leading. So you'd usually play it like that, but I'm playing it like that. And that's because it means the transition between those first 2 chords is simple. All you're really doing is sliding the same shape down. Which makes it much simpler than changing the whole shape of your left hand. And it also sounds better than playing it there. Then we've got that's the first shape. Instead of moved down, we're moving it up 2 frets, so a tone. It's up to you here if you want to add some ghost notes or ghost strums in. So that's where the strings are muted, but the rhythm's kept up, so like that kind of thing. This chord shape is the major shape. If you look in a chord book and look up F major, the shortened variation, not the bar chord, it's usually shown like this. So it's that same shape played here. So that's notwithstanding the capo, the 10th fret, up to the 12th. And then the root is played with the thumb like that. So we've got you've then got, so same tone up from this shape. Then I played chords which I worked out by first working out what the melody note was. So that's what I came up with. So I'll show you this shape. So what we've got is here, then, so again, forget about the capo, but we've got the 9th fret, the 7th on the D string, 9th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the G string, then 8th fret on the B string, then 10th fret on the high E string, like that. Essentially what that is it's just a G major chord with the notes jumbled around. So what you'd call this chord would probably depend on what the bass note is, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just showing you so that you can play it shape-wise. Then move it up a tone. So we've got, so that's the second half of the intro in context with the first half of the intro. Then final chord is this. So I was strumming it from the D string and then hitting the bass note with the thumb here, which is on the 10th fret. There's then a slide down to the C major shape, like this. So the second half of the intro, then you hit here, this bass note, which would be a G without the capo on. Then there's that little melody line intro to the first verse, which is an open G with a hammer on there onto the 4th fret or the 2nd fret, depending on whether you want to count the capo. So like this. So then a final D bass note. I would suggest throughout this instructional video, slow down the playback speed if you want. It might make it easier to follow if you want to zoom in on what either the left or the right hand is doing. So the intro then, in its entirety, played slowly, is this. Pay attention to where the bass notes are played with the thumb on each chord. We're then into the first verse. The chords are not hard here. The most tricky part to play when playing it as a fingerstyle arrangement is the right hand part, so the picking and the strumming and the percussive elements combined. That's the first line of the first verse. I found it really helpful here to learn the words, the vocal lines for the song, because the melody changes slightly, the rhythm's different on each line, and having the vocals, the words in your head as you're playing it helps keep you right. So the vocal line there is riding around in the breeze. So, C major shape, and the picking pattern is this. That's a very, very commonly used and useful picking pattern, which is used in all sorts of fingerstyle arrangements, Chet style playing basically. Is the melody. So the melody played on its own would be. Like this. That's arranged with the chords and the bass. So you've got, when it goes to the G chord there, you play that. So there's a one strum. Then I did a hammer on there in the breeze. So that's a hammer on from open B to first fret B, where the F chord comes in, which is the G major chord, but I'll call it the F because that's the shape. Again, slow the playback of the video down to really focus in on this. So the whole thing. Then you've got if I get any of the words wrong here, apologies for that. Obviously, I wasn't singing the song, so I was just learning the words to try and keep me right for working out the rhythm of the melody. So here, this is where you're doing a hybrid style with the right hand, really. So that's picked. Then another high E string pick. Then a strum. Then it goes to the G. Yeah, like that. Then B string. So from the top, leading in again. And here. And the vocal line now is doing the best you can. So here I played the same as what I played for the first line, Riding Around in the Breeze, but without the hammer on. So, as opposed to the first line. This is what I mean when I say the vocal melody line changes with each line that's sung. It's slightly different. So, that's as long as you lend a hand. So here we'll start with the B, first fret. In the lead up to the chorus, in the recorded version of the song, there's what sounds like an arpeggiated synth line. It's really difficult to hear clearly and work out. Often when I'm doing fingerstyle arrangements of songs with multiple parts, I'll just try and do something that hints at the part or cops the feel of the part without playing it note for note verbatim. So that's what I was going for here with this. And I played it differently from verse 1 to verse 2, only slightly. Or I think I did that on verse 1. Then into the chorus. And that's a simple picking pattern. Just 3 strings played descending. Like that. Then we're into the chorus. You wouldn't necessarily have to play that part. You could keep the same pattern going before you go into the chorus like this. Into the chorus that way. As long as the timing's right, those things can be tweaked or embellished or improvised on. So the chorus starts with the F-shaped chord, which is in fact G major. Here I didn't try and play the vocal rhythm melody exactly the same as it's sung. For a start, it's really low. It's Tom Petty singing it. It's got quite a low voice. So I played it an octave higher. And I just tried to incorporate it into the fingerstyle arrangement in a way which made sense and was easy enough to play. It's really odd actually, the timing of the vocal part in the chorus. So I played it like this. So here there's a pull off from the first fret to open, and that's It's the F-shaped chord, and that's really difficult to do playing it with any kind of bar whatsoever. The problem is there's no way of pulling off that E string without also pulling off the B string, and then you've coloured the chord to the extent that it doesn't work. So what I was doing here was missing out the B string like this. So you need to be quite precise with the picking on the right hand. We're playing octaves on the bass. And then to the C major shape. So again, slow this down if you need to. So these two fingers here are playing the notes from the F major shape chord. Then there's some strumming put in with the right hand. Just one. And it's the vocal harmony part in the chorus where they all sing end of the line. End of the line. Then the same thing. Here you can add little embellishments. I was just choosing as and when to do the pull off and when not to. Again, because I wasn't trying to emulate exactly what the vocal melody is doing. So there's two of those repetitions there. And then, very similar, you go to this melody note. So that's the 5th fret. Or 3rd fret if you want to count from the capo, on the high E string. There. Open D, back to the C. And when it goes to the C, it's that pull off from here. Then there's, this is the G chord now, or the A major chord. G shape chord. So it's just here, this bass note. And then pull off from the B string 1st fret. And the bass note's doing that. So the whole chorus played slowly is this. There's that melody lead in, hammer on, open G to G string 2nd fret before you start the 2nd verse. The 2nd verse is the same as the 1st verse, but there's some variations in the rhythm of the melody. So the 1st line of the 2nd verse is this. So the words are, even if they say you're wrong. It's now slightly more tricky. There's 2 rhythmic hits, if you like. That's the melody note throughout. So 1st fret B string. and then it goes to the G chord, then to the F chord there. The next vocal line is Sometimes You've Got to Be Strong. There's a couple of different ways of playing this. You can play it mostly picked, like this. Or you can play it more rhythmically, again, like this. Either one of those works. In fact, I can't remember which one I actually played in the recording, but this is where you can put your own individuality, your own stamp on the arrangement. So we've now got this for the second verse, played slowly. There's then a little guitar part stroke riff, which is I was playing that as fuller chords, like that, so in context with the verse, it's like that, and it's just A minor shape to C major shape. But the C major, you keep the middle finger off. The next vocal line is As Long As You've Got Somewhere to Lay. Then Every Day is Judgment Day. The As Long As You've Got Somewhere to Lay line is the same as the first line of the second verse. Even if they say you're wrong, it's played the same way. So there's nothing new to learn there. Every Day is Judgment Day is the final line of verse 2. And that's played the same as the final line of verse 1. So I'll play all of verse 2 now, slowly. So now we're into the second chorus. The lead into the second chorus is the same as the first chorus with that arpeggiated synth line. I mixed this up slightly and played instead of so. Just the other way around, essentially. Then for chorus 2, I decided to play it further up the neck to add variation to the arrangement. So I'm playing the F shape chord, which is G major, here. So that's, again, forget about the capo, 10th fret for counting from the nut. It's up to you here whether you play the high E string or not, or can't remember which I played. Either works. Or, and then alternating the bass, playing fifths on the bass, like that. That's the picking pattern. Then, so this is actually the same as the intro, chord-wise, chord shape-wise. So we've got that C major shape from the caged system played on the 10th fret. Then the F major shape played on, again, the 10th fret, but going up to the 12th. And here I played that chord embellishment there, which is little finger on the 12th fret and then first finger on the 10th fret. Here you can really improvise around this. I was not worrying so much here about what the vocal melody is doing, because I'd already decided not to try and recreate that, and I just wanted to put something different in the mix. So playing the chords higher up the neck will give you that. Again, you can get that sliding if you like the sound of it. Then back to this shape. Then here, which is a 6. It's like a D major 6 or a D6. So all it is this root and then flat. So you're playing these top 4 strings here, flat. I play with my little finger. Some people play it like that with the 3rd finger. I find it actually easier to play with the little finger, but it's whatever works for you. So. That's what I played. Lead in always sounds good. So a semitone down from the root note of the next chord. And then with C major shape chord. Then the final part of chorus 2 is the same as chorus 1. So now here I played this. That's simply so just this bass with the open G string. Then that's the same hammer-on melody run up to verse 3. Verse 3 I played largely the same as verse 1. Verse 3 in the song is the verse that Roy Orbison sings, and to me the rhythm of the melody was very similar to verse 1, so that's how I played it. I decided at this point in the arrangement to end it soon after, because there's a lot of repetition in the song and it's less interesting when you're playing it as a solo acoustic guitar piece. There's only so much you can do, even when adding lots of different techniques and chord variations and so forth. So I decided to play verse 3 and then end the arrangement, end the song, by playing the intro again, which is then of course the outro, but it's played the same as the intro. It's important to remember here in verse 3, you've got that guitar riff, distinct guitar part to add in. If you want to, it is added in verse 3 of the song, but you could skip it out, but it's that. So. The second half of the verse 3. Going to the end of the line is the last vocal. So verse 3 in its entirety. Now it's back to the intro section, stroke part, which is the outro, of course, here. So I'll not go over that again. The very last couple of chords I just played. So the C major shape, D major chord, I just kept ringing out and played something like that. You could just play the final chord and let it ring out. I'll just stress again, this is all in the right hand really. It's a great song to learn and play to work on right hand technique because of all these elements that are involved. I like to mix it up like that and play the rhythm in different places mixed in with the finger picking. A final word on tempo. So I played this arrangement slightly quicker than the tempo of the original song. That was a choice because I thought it simply worked better, slightly quicker, as a solo fingerstyle acoustic guitar arrangement. What's good here though is that you can play it slower to work on the right hand technique before building the tempo up. And if you end up performing it slower, well then it's just more in keeping with the actual tempo of the song. So that'll work perfectly fine and you're not losing anything there from the arrangement or from the original song to the arrangement. That's even quicker than I played it in the recording, but you know, it's good for practicing. I realised that during the course of this video I haven't elaborated or lingered on the exact finger picking patterns and really broken them down thoroughly. The reason for that is that if I did, the video would be a lot longer, and what I'm trying to do here is offer something for viewers who have been asking me about the arrangements and more specifically exactly how I go about arranging songs for fingerstyle guitar. I'm hoping that there's some general methods and techniques that players can pick up here about how you'd go about arranging other songs. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.